French oak barrels, which are pretty pricey, but you can use French spirals or staves, and just get some beautiful, subtle, spicy notes. A little more refined than American oak, but very just awesome. It gives your mead or your wine some nice structure. It makes it more interesting, other than just being fruity or sweet. So the winemaking side of it opened my mind up to oak, and even lately we do one traditional mead. I call it traditional. It's done in brand new bourbon barrels, because which is a bourbon barrel. It's a usually white oak barrel, and it's charred. Charcoal, essentially. When we buy it's called a number 2 char, and we ferment in it and rack it out and rack it back in, rack and return, if you will, and age it in the same oak for up to 2 years. And we've been fermenting at maybe 16 plus degrees of alcohol, and then we boost it with grape spirits up to 19.
That's good stuff, too. I've got a bottle of that.
Just a lovely mead. I don't know, as far as, this is interesting, as far as competition, I didn't know what to do with it. It's like a honey port. It's not, I don't.
Probably, it would probably go into other, would be my guess.
Other.
Yeah, everything else, weird smells, basically, everything that doesn't fit someplace else.
Right.
Everything that we like to make.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
Weird smells.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the BJCP should create a category for stuff like that, but they're not there yet. I think it's coming, because I've heard rumbles of changes being made as a result of some of the stuff MCI's done, and what's happening in mead competitions around the country and around the world that BJCP is taking note of. But the wheels at the BJCP turn slowly. So,
Well, I can tell you an oak story if you're interested.
Sure.
My first venture into oak, I made some pretty nice mead, maybe semi-sweet, and I thought, I'm going to get an oak barrel. So I bought my first Missouri white oak barrel, and I finished the mead first. I fermented it out, and I put it into this new barrel, and oh my God, it was like a board, like an oak plank. It was just so incredibly.
You had witty mead.
Chateau plywood.
Chateau plywood, yeah.
Oh, didn't get this. So I thought, I'm going to age this out. It's been 10 years or more.
Is it still like that?
Still.
My Lord.
I might have to wait another 50 years before it's
Oh, dear.
But that being said, the lesson learned is, what I've learned is, maybe the audience, maybe some might be interested to know that there is some alchemy or chemistry that happens when you ferment in oak, as opposed to putting a finished mead in the oak. When you ferment, there's some process where the oak is subdued and integrated and softened, and it through the fermentation process, and it can come out in a just lovely fashion. That being said, sometimes if you have the volume, you would blend. Some of the when we do it now, we have barrels that are neutral, which means they've been used maybe 3 or 4 times, and there's no more to give for the barrel. So we'll do some in neutral barrels and some in new barrels, and blend them together, and which is a big part of winemaking, is blending. That's in my mind the art of winemaking or mead making is blending through the process, because you don't always get the results you want, and you can balance it afterwards through various methods. So even if you have to take a barrel aged oak aged mead, you could always blend in some mead from stainless steel to taste. And we do a lot of work on, and we call it just in the bench trials. We're constantly even blending wines. We taste them, we blend them. Even with your fruits, because I know you've talked with other people before about working up a recipe. Do you just batch it and see where it goes? Well, a lot of times we'll buy different fruits or spices, and even this last week I've been working on a lot of stuff. And I'll have a draft base or a mead base, which I call mead that's finished. Even if I have to take it out of a standard traditional mead out of a bottle, and if I want to experiment with a spice, I would measure that particular fruit in different quantities in beakers, and I might say do a half a gram of just for instance, a half a gram of spice or a quarter gram or less, and I would do different levels of it, and through a period of time, I usually do it in jars, like quart jars or pint jars, and try to approximate grams per liter, if you will, and work with it and see where different spices or fruits go. And likewise, when the wine's finished, you might have to balance it, or you might have to, like we had a white wine, for instance, we had to deacidify. And we ended up going with a Pinot Noir juice and ended up going best of show. And then the next year we got gold, but that particular year, the TA, or titratable acid, was it's just really high because the grapes are a little unripe. But still, we could balance that wine afterwards and go on to win gold. So there's a lot a mead maker can do, more or less. To balance a wine or a mead after the initial fermentation's done. So anyhow, I went from the oak to bench trials. So it's a journey. There's a lot to learn, and it's a lot of fun. And every time I I'm my third winemaker, there's always something they bring to the table. And something they know, or a trick, or a skill they can share with us, and in turn, each of them are pretty blown away at what we can do with mead. It's so wide open with spices and fruits and oak aging and whatnot. So it's been a lot of fun for the winemakers too. It's really it just opens them up, because you get in the wine world, you're kind of locked down.
Yeah,
you got wine.
There are rules.
In the mead world, it's so wide open.
Well, you can mix. I mean, as long as you got that honey base, you can. Anything beyond that is anything. Could be anything at all. There's literally, so far as I know, no limits, unless we're working with things like that are illegal. But beyond that,
right?
Yeah. As long as it's
is
legal.
Anyone doing
then
cannabis yet?
Somebody's doing that in Colorado, and I think somebody in Washington. There was a discussion on the AMMA board about somebody who's attempting to do a THC commercial mead.
Incredible.
So, yeah. If it's in Colorado or Washington and it happens before I leave, I'm going to see if I can get my hands on some and try it, because I'm curious.
Bring some back and share it with us.
If I can figure out a way to smuggle it home, Kirk, you got a deal.
I'm in. I'll meet you down at your cabin.
Yeah, there we go. Come down. You and Sharon come down to the cabin. I'll cook dinner. We'll get high.
Oh my.
We'll drink a bottle. So I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, I've heard people. There's been a couple of people in states where it's legal that are talking about it, and because now I want to say 3 of the states that have legalized marijuana have legalized putting it in beverages, which is a huge thing.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
just today I saw that. There was
a
summit. It was in I think a Chicago show, a big food and beverage show.
So yeah, that's
somebody had. I saw.
I think it's going to be a big deal. I mean, if they can manage it, I'm trying to figure out. I can't imagine how anybody is going to get a THC mead to not be super vegetal, because pot and THC and even CBD has a really distinctive flavor. It's not unpleasant. It's like very green and grassy, and it's kind of a nice flavor, but it's not a flavor I would associate with mead, or with any kind of beverage, really. So
it would be interesting to see how something like that would work with, maybe the barnyard flavor from buckwheat, or some very strong fruit flavor that works with it. That's what I had expected him to be doing anyway.
No, there's a thought, yeah.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good idea, AJ. Maybe a real strong, dark, robust honey.
I know.
Yeah.
Use durian fruit.
Oh, my Lord. Really?
Yeah, there was somebody that got mead years and years ago. AJ probably remembers it. This guy was like just hot to make a durian mead, because apparently while they smell like ass, they don't taste bad. If you can get past the smell, they actually taste pretty good. But
that's questionable. Honestly,
I've never had one. Yeah, I've never had one. Period. So I don't know. I'm just going by what I've been told.
There are places where cutting them open's illegal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, not so much illegal, but definitely banned. Like, there's basically not a hotel in Southeast Asia that will allow you to take it inside the hotel.
Which is really hilarious, since that's where they grow.
Upsets everybody.
They shouldn't grow them then, if they're that bad.
They're weeds, Vic. They're everywhere.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. I just assumed that.
So, Vicky, what?
Yes, Kirk?
Have you noticed any new trends in the mead world? Any observations, or other than a lot of meaderies popping up?
Other than meaderies popping up like grass between pavement cracks. It's crazy. What I'm seeing is the trend for sours is going nuts. I mean, you guys were experimenting with sours when I was there last summer. Or this summer. So where are you with that? Have you got them in production now? I got to taste one of the experimentals at the tasting room, but I don't think you were selling at that point.
No, we've been on the market for probably a year and a half.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't aware then. But they said that was a newish thing for you.
Somewhat, relatively new, but it's not new for me in the sense that I did a really good one. It was like a 12%. I did one maybe 5 years ago. I actually won a gold medal with it.
Okay.
But it's been a journey to figure it out and being able to repeat it accurately.
Okay.
And I can't say I can do it accurately every time. There's some risk in it, because there's not. We're using the lactic acid bacteria.
Okay.
And there's different species, and I've kept my starter in like a 50-liter stainless kegs and kind of babying them along, but it can morph just in storage.
Wow. I didn't know that.
You can get other contaminating microorganisms like. I'm pretty comfortable with lactic acid, but you can get contamination in your winery, and it could cause a lot of issues. It can get away from you. So so I could sleep better. I tell you this, my winemakers wouldn't touch it.
I'll bet.
They would not. None of them would get. They think I'm still crazy. But that being, I just pulled rank on them. I said, this is what we're going to do. And we bought an ozone machine, and we were very religious about cleaning everything. We ozone the floors and the tanks and sterilize everything. Sometimes to the point where it's choking us. Ozone can get away from you. But
yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Oh, God, it just makes your lungs so heavy.
So
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
So, for instance, I've had some issues with. I usually send my culture out to a lab to have it checked, and I did pick up some Brett, in long-term storage. And I think Brettanomyces, which is a yeast,